You staying for the party?
Oh boy, here comes another fiery hoop. Here comes another opportunity to show what I can do. To dance with the big guns. To dance with the big guns? Is that a thing?
What's going on? Can you guys hear me? Am I deaf?
Well, welcome back, everybody. We are here for episode 3, of course, of Don't Disturb the Commentators. Tex, it's good to see your smiling face again.
Oh, it's great, mate. I'm loving it. I'm ready to go. It's a week turnaround because we missed a week, and it's I'm loving it. I think we've got plenty to talk about tonight. Hopefully, there's a little bit of technical difficulties. I mean, before this show, you and I get on and just have a quick chat through, and like we're having a little bit of dramas with getting our guest on.
Come on, getting our guest on.
But we had a little bit of technical dramas, but then also your wife yelled at us before we got on the show as well. She said, "What did I tell you to?" And the pair of us just both went quiet because we didn't know what was going to happen. Like, is Jackie talking to us, or
we're collectively in trouble? We do everything together. We're 2-2-1-2 production. We do everything together. We get in trouble together. We get yelled at by my wife together. My kids have already joined us. So the question tonight is, when will Hayden show his face in the background?
And will he be wearing the official merch? Speaking of, Manny, my hat's finally turned up.
Your hat it looks fantastic.
Like, how good is it?
I tell you what, the best thing I like about the hat is it covers up my balding head because it's going backwards.
Yeah, well, it keeps my luscious hair intact underneath the hat because I've been blessed with hair. With hair,
yeah, no. Well, you're not a true commentator because one thing I've found out about going around Australia and doing commentary gigs is about 75% of commentators are bald and or overweight or both. So there's not many left with hair, and the ones that do have hair left are grey. So
yeah,
you obviously haven't stepped into the realm of professional commentary.
I haven't done enough yet. I'm still semi-professional with all my hair.
Better get rid of that talcum powder out, grey it up a bit. Good see Aaron's already on. He's watching the show. Don't forget, guys, you can comment. We will have some questions tonight. We are having some technical difficulties, but we are trying to get Gary Pendlebury on tonight to talk from Motorsport NT, and we believe that's probably a big enough character. We don't need anyone else on. That'll do us for tonight. We'll do us for tonight. But what we might do is go over, of course, the hats. We talked about it last week. I got mine because, Canberra, 3 hours away from Sydney. A bit of a shout out to, of course, Dicker Stickers there who did the hats for us. Get all your stuff done by there. Check them out on Facebook, of course. Just look up Dicker Stickers. Yeah, man, she pumped them out real quick for us, didn't she?
Yeah. There was some delays with the hats actually getting there. She had to get them ordered, but once she got them pumped out within a couple of days. Unfortunately, it's just good old Darwin is 6 million mile away, and there's not a whole lot we can do. So, but yeah, no, it's good that we've got them. And as we said, Dicker Stickers, they do an absolutely fantastic job. I love the hat. It's so comfy to wear, and I'm sure everyone's going to be looking at it going,
maybe we can start. Maybe we'll start selling out some merchandise. Maybe we should give some giveaways.
What's 2212?
What's 2212? I don't know. Testing 2212. It's a bunch. It's just a couple of commentators have no idea. That's pretty much it. Somehow we did a year together, didn't we? We did a couple of things together, but we did a solid year together before you kicked me out. No, I left. Sorry, that's right. I left. Yeah, I was disgusted. I was disgusted in what happened in that commentary box at the Speedway.
It's just like another commentator bites the dust for me.
I'll tell you what, we did see some
Queen played on the way out as you left. It was just like another commentator bites the dust.
We had some good times up in that commentary box. I tell you what, Northline Speedway do some fantastic shows. A bit of a shame about this year. Obviously, they've called it early. But yeah, I noticed like the junior development's still going on. That another. One on this weekend too.
Yeah, so. they had one last weekend, and they had, I think, 5 or 6 junior sedans down there, and all relatively new to the sport. And you had a few of the guys and girls who used to race the junior sedans down there, giving them a hand, trying to do what they can to, give them the information they need to know about getting out there and racing. And even good to see, Justin Brumfield from the street stock section, giving a hand, just, helping panel up the cars, doing bits and pieces and showing some of the kids through exactly what they got to do. So, yeah, the Junior Development Program, absolutely fantastic initiative by the Darwin Junior Sedan Club from Northline Speedway, doing a fantastic job, and it's going to be exciting to see what they have to come. I was just having a look because Catherine Speedway is on this Saturday night. They've got their opening round, and having a look at that, they had something like 50 nominations. There's nearly 10 junior sedans running.
Well, my favourite street stock guy's running. The Tyre Shine King.
He's making his 2020 debut. What a guy.
Has he rung up Catherine Auto 1 and said, hey, have you got enough Tyre Shine for me for the weekend? Or do you reckon he's...
I need a pallet of tyre shine and I need to drop to the track.
Just get it out to the Speedway, Catherine Speedway, because that's what we need. So it's all happening right now. We are in the background just waiting for Gary to join us. So we've had some minor technical issues as we do on the show. It's what is it, the go? Well, it's Victorians, now it's Gary. We were all right last week. They put the burnout guys on and we seem to be all right.
Well, he's down in Catherine at the moment, so he moved closer to Victoria. So I think that might be the issue.
Yeah, computer's got corona. That's all it is.
He's sitting in the old Knots Crossing resort at the moment. You picked that as soon as we looked on the video before.
Yeah, we did have him up before. I know the brickwork there. I've done plenty of nights at the old Knots Crossing, and I tell you what, the pork belly, I can recommend it. So they'll send you home full and about 12 beers, and you're good. You'll sleep well for the night. So that's how it goes down there. But yeah, Catherine Speedway, you're right. A lot of nominees. I was looking at Street Stocks. They got wingless down there. What else did they have down there? I'm just trying to remember. I did actually have a look on social media today. They've
got the Darwin sedans as well,
yes,
which is
right.
a similar section to the Street Stocks. I can't remember the exact differences there. It's just it's a bit of a sideways club from the Street Stocks. Very similar. But yeah, they've got 6 of those wingless sprints. Formula 500s are going to be racing as well. I think there's 5 or 6 of those going down, as well as some already being there. So yeah, 50 nominations, huge for their opening round.
Dirt karts as well. So because I did see Timmy Tech's on there.
Yep, Timmy Tech's having a run down there. Cameron Janke, normally in a Formula 500, looks like he's jumping in a kart this weekend. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a bit of a race meeting to watch. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get back down there for the opening round, but I'm definitely going to get down there at some point this season.
I don't reckon your liver can afford a trip down to Catherine after last weekend. Yeah, how is your liver? Good to see. Look, Matty Finn's on. Us Victorians are still alive. Well, some of you are. You're just infected. That's all it is. You sent them back to Canberra. Now I got to look out.
Just don't breathe moistly on me.
Yeah. Don't get as close as Tegan and I get, all right? Just keep your distance. It's all right. It's all right.
ACT and NT, us territories have to stick together.
Yeah, we do have to stick together. So, yeah, there's plenty happening in the Northern Territory. It's a bit of a Northern Territory theme tonight. Like we said, the show predominantly Northern Territorian because that's where we're from and that's where you still are and a lot of the people we know. But, yeah, Catherine Speedway. The other one I looked up was Nullarbor Speedway's actually got a round on this weekend as well. So interesting to see them get back and racing. It looks like round 2. I'm not quite sure about round 1. I'm just looking on social media. So if anyone out there knows about Nullarbor Speedway, get in the comments and let us know because that'll be good to know that's on this weekend. It's huge throughout the Northern Territory. I
even think that the NT title for the Formula 500 section might be held in Gove this year as well. So they do get a few Formula 500s down there and have some decent racing. So, yeah. Yeah, it'd be good to put a few on the barge. I mean, it's a bit of a trek to take it over all those roads if you want to try it off. You can do it, but, I mean, stick it on the barge and show up. I mean, they'd love to have it over there. Apparently, they've got a really nice track. I've not actually seen Gove's track. That's the one I have not been past. Yeah.
The other one's Tennant Creek Speedway. They've got something up on their social media about starting in August, so they can't be too far away. Plenty going on though. Tita's got the drifting on this Friday. Is it skid pan? No, it's this Friday night. Yes, tomorrow night. They've got the skid pan going on in the car park event. And great news I saw today is that if you are in the same household, you can go passenger rides. So you've got to be those same household. So that's starting to make a bit of progress there, I suppose, getting people back in the passenger seat, having a bit of fun down in the car park event. But I do notice they just put some photos up previously about them being down there tonight and setting up for that. So that is all go for the Top End Drift Association car park event. Friday night, go down to Hidden Valley, pay at the gate. I think it's much for a spectator, gold coin or something like that. So get down and enjoy that. That's going to be just them out having some fun in the car park. And it's always great with the Tita boys. They get in. Another one, though, you actually brought it up last night when we caught up for a quick chat, is the Alice Springs Karting Club have a 2-day event on this weekend.
Yep. So it's a bit of a karting weekend. The Darwin Karting Club on the Bitumen up here are having a practice round, I believe. And then, the Alice Springs Karting Club, which is a dirt track down near the Arunga Park Speedway in Alice Springs, they're actually running their first round down there. It's a 2-day event over Saturday and Sunday. And there's a large number of Darwin karts that are going down. Obviously, our numbers have grown up here immensely with Darwin Karting. The Dirt Kart Club starting up last year. There was 83 nominations for their first round, and they're all, a few of them are making the journey down there. I think a few of them are making it a bit of a 3-day run, just and enjoying the scenery. Dallas.
Are they claiming their Northern Territory travel voucher? Are they? And
I think so,
picking up some racing along the way. At least with a kart, it's not too bad. You can stick them in a van or a box trailer or something like that. You don't necessarily have to have the big car trailer like some of the boys do when they go for the drags and the burnouts and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some results come out of that. And one of the things is we are going to try and catch up with Josh Graveling in a couple of weeks on our next show. I've messaged him and hope that maybe he'll come on board, does a bit of the commentary down there. I'm not sure about the Speedway, but I know he does the drags and the burnout. So we might try and see if we can get him on, have a bit of a roundup of what's happened down there the last couple of weeks. Mate, it's all going on because the following weekend, the 18th and 19th of July, they've actually got a test and tune for the drags down there. So Alice Springs Inland Dragway's got their test and tune and a burnouts on. So they're back into it. The burnout guys that come to Darwin for the Burnout Association of Darwin are back. So I'm sure Dave Titani and all that will be out there having a great time and getting some more tyres off, sending them into the sky. So can't wait for those guys to get it done. Also thinking, that's all the NT. I suppose the big one too is Red Centre Nats is still booked in for the 4th to the 6th of September. So Father's Day weekend, it's going to be another fantastic one. I've been to a few of them, and I'm meant to be going back to this one this year. So provided we don't get shut down in the borders, I should be over there for that one. So that's going to be fantastic as well. And I'll be interested to see if they put the Speedway on again on the Thursday night, because that's always a bit exciting.
Yeah, I know the Orongo Park Speedway is in the midst of a large number of upgrades at the moment. They're going through and upgrading their lighting for the track, and they've done some upgrades to the fencing and things like that. So they were partway through, and I'm not sure whether they were looking at actually running the season this year, but hopefully they do get it out there. And yeah, like you said, it's a great opportunity to run alongside Red Centre Nats and put on quite a decent show. And obviously, generally that backs off the tail end of Chariots of Thunder, and they get a few cars on their way home who stop in there and have a bit of a run. And yeah, not going to be the case this year, but they still have a few sprint cars and Formula 500s down there and other sections that would definitely run and put on some midweek entertainment.
Sorry, mate, I'm just keep looking over here because I'm just waiting for Gaz to rejoin us in the background so I can actually plumb him into here. He hasn't.
He's texted me now and he said it's not happening at the moment. His camera's not accessing.
Well, we don't need camera. Just tell him we'll do audio only. We can just do audio if he wants. We don't need to see his hotel room. If he can get back on the same way as he was before and we can get his audio in, let's just get him on because he's going to have a lot to say about motorsports in Northern Territory. Like we say, we've been through a few of the things that are happening this weekend. It's all happening in Nullarbor, Alice Springs, Catherine, and of course Tennant Creek. Not like August is only a few weeks away, so it's all sort of happening in the Northern Territory. When we go back up to Darwin, big announcement this week. I don't think we see much out of the Hidden Valley Drags. I've got the shirt on because obviously I did a fair bit down there in my time and wore the Territory colours. But looks like they are going to have Nitro up north. He's going to come up in September, I think it is. So that's a good announcement for them to see the Nitro funny cars come back up. The Cowan deal, that's going to be a huge event. So, if there's going to be one for the Drags, that's going to be it. It's going to be huge. So we'll see what happens. You're getting the feedback, are you?
Yeah, he's just messaged me back and he's on his 5th laptop. He's just going to try another laptop to get on. And I think it might be our last hope with good old Gaz.
No, we'll get him on Messenger. I can get him on Messenger. If he rings me on Messenger, we can get his audio on, no drama. So we will get him on tonight. Gary Penderbury from Motorsports NT. He is absolutely dedicated to motorsports, really. Years and years of experience. He's officialed, he's raced. I really want to have a chat with him. I'm going to make sure he gets on here tonight. Big shout out to our sponsors, of course, for the show. Don't Disturb the Commentators, brought to you by obviously 2212 Productions, me and Teagues. Pecky's Performance and Dino Tune, who give you their internet. Let you into their room. Iceberg Electrical and Fire, of course. The boys there doing a great job. Extrift Industries, of course, Danny Probert, and also we need to thank Medicab Media, of course, for streaming this one. So, yeah, hopefully they do the Nitro Up North. Graham Craig, the man with 2 first names, logging on there. And good to see Graham Craig's actually got his car bent back out. I've seen some photos there. They've pulled that out after he tried to shorten his circuit car. So good to see they're getting a few laps in there in the circuit too. So it's good to see they're back up and racing. So a couple of other things going on around Australia. I know the high-tech drift for reels on a Saturday night for the Sydney Motorsport Parks. If you're down in Sydney, you can't go and watch, so it doesn't matter. If you've entered, you've entered. They've maxed out. I spoke to Taylor the other day. They are absolutely maxed out for entries for the amount of people. So, but it's good to see they're getting back to the drifting, big interest. And we're watching to see, I think Winton's probably off the cards in August, not confirmed yet, but with Victoria, they've got a 6-week lockdown now and Winton over the border. So that's a bit of a shame there for the National Series. There you go, Craig. It's straight again. That's all I like to see. Is it red again? It's all painted up. I did see that. It looks good. I can't wait to see you back out on a real track. In other news, I saw Sydney Motorsport Park got LED lighting as well. So I did see Ian Baker put up a post there, who does World Time Attack, and he was there today. He took some photos, and that's going to be interesting because they got the V8 Supercars next weekend on that night race.
Yep. Yeah, that's going to be great. And I'm not sure if you've seen it, but a good old friend of ours, TKR, the keyboard racer, he posted up a photo yesterday, and he's got a new proposal for the borders for for South Australia and Victoria. He's wanting to keep Mount Gambier and through to Warrnambool and all that in the borders so that we can keep on racing.
Oh, well, that's a good call. I don't know what's wrong with that.
I'm liking it. Yeah.
What has the TKR been up to lately? I do have him on Facebook. If you don't know that, the keyboard racer, he made quite an entrance into the Speedway world, did a fair bit with us up in the Northern Territory in 2018 and kept going in 2019, even interrupted our presentation evening.
Oh, he's great. He's every live stream, you could guarantee that we had TKR talking back to us. You and I would be commentating the race, and he'd be talking back to us, letting us know what he thought. And you and I did the presentation night that year, and midway in the show, all of a sudden TKR pops up and starts talking to everyone. So yeah, he's great, and hopefully we'll be able to maybe one day get him on this show. But he's been doing a little bit lately. He recently released a musical. All about the Speedway. There's a 2-part musical. If you haven't seen that, jump on the Keyboard Racer Facebook page and check that out because it's an absolute crack up. You got to be a little bit, Speedway orientated to understand it, but it's an absolute crack up. They do all sorts of stuff. He releases plenty of stuff. I mean, over the Classic weekend they released a magazine, which was a huge achievement for him. Someone who started as a Facebook page ended up with a magazine, and there was pre-sale copies going out, and they sold out within the first couple of days. So. He's made a bit of a name for himself, hasn't he, in the Speedway world? I mean, and he's actually pretty funny, actually. Don't tell him. But, he's actually made a name for about 30 people because there's all sorts of people getting around saying they know exactly who it is and claiming that it's this person, claiming that it's that person. I think you and I were labelled as it at one show, and McIver's definitely up on the list.
He's been labelled, I can tell you what. Oh, Big Gaz is on. Good to see Big Gaz has joined us. Of course, he is see no evil when it comes to judging the burnouts, and we might catch up with Big Gaz. I had a bit of a chat with him. He was actually raving on about the burnout comp the other week that the Burnout Association of Darwin put on, said it was a good gig. So it's good to get some feedback from Big Gaz. He's been around a few burnout comps in his time, and probably in the early days of Summernats probably saw a lot of things that we will never see at a car show. So back when you could get away with a fair bit. So yeah, we get a bit out of him. And if you're out there, Gaz Thorpe, he's given me some background information to say that you might be travelling down this way around Summernats. So let me know if you're coming down, mate. Make sure you send me a message. We'll get you down here. So as it looks like we got Gaz is joining us. I can hear him in the background. So that's really good news that we've got Gaz in the background.
It's just, can he hear us this time?
I don't know. Hey, we can hear you. So the good news, ladies and gentlemen, is you can't hear him, but we're going to bring on Gary Penderbury now, of course, the president of Motorsports NT. Let's get him on. Big round of applause. Gaz, thanks for going through all the technical issues tonight. We've got you on, but fantastic to have you here. You're down in Catherine already, obviously doing some other work, but big night this weekend for Catherine Speedway.
Yeah, very much so. To get my technical prowess working, I actually swapped to a different laptop, and this one actually works. But I had to actually email the link because I don't actually have Facebook on this particular laptop, so I couldn't actually copy it across. But Catherine's going to fire up. I think they had in excess of 40 nominations across about 5 classes.
Yeah, I counted up. It was about 50 before, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, so it should be a good night, and it's obviously good for Speedway firing up across the territory. Obviously, Alice Springs is waiting until about October when they can fire up for their normal season to start. And in about a month's time, we've got Tennant Creek firing up with their double header as well. And
I was reading on social media today, Nhulunbuy Speedway's got a meet on as well this weekend.
Yeah, they had a practice a couple of weeks ago, I think, and they had some pretty good participation rates. So they had a few people turn up. And they got their first meeting, or it might be their second one now, I'm not sure. I actually caught up with the guys here a couple of weeks ago when I was out there for work as well. And they're all pretty keen to get going, and they get some very good support out there through YBE and also the mining community. So it's a good little speedway, that one. It needs a little bit of work on it to try and upgrade it a bit better, and that's obviously something we'll look at across all motorsports of what we can achieve over the next 4 years. But very keen and proactive group of guys and girls on their committee over there.
So for people that don't really know you, Gaz, I mean, if you've been involved in Speedway, everyone knows you, and probably a little bit down at the circuit racing as well. Like, what's your sort of history in motorsport for some of the viewers that are watching us?
I started at the ripe old age of about 11, back in the very early 70s. That's why I got a lot of grey on me. Old man threw me on a motorcycle and said, get out there and do it. I basically then emptied my pants the first time I tried it. So, yeah, it was a bit of an experience for an 11-year-old. And funnily enough, the motocross circuit we were on is actually where the Northline Speedway is now situated. So basically the front straight of the Speedway is where the front straight of the motocross track used to be at Hidden Valley. So I'll sort of come back to old grounds, if you like. So I started there, went my way up through the ages, eventually got to an old CR125 Honda, which was a bit of a weapon, and then went to a CR250, which is even more of a weapon back in those days. Did a Campari, survived it, actually finished it. That was about 76, 75, somewhere in there, I think.
That's a bit of a feat in itself, doing Campari. That's hard.
I wasn't a well unit, I'll admit at the end, Matty, I can tell you. I think I got a photo in there somewhere. I'm pretty well draped over the tank and over the handlebars, and I got this look on my face sort of saying, please rescue me. I mean, I look back on it with fond memories, but that is a hard race, that one. It really is. But very good fun. I then went south for a little while. I was watching a bit of Speedway down at the old Speedway Park in Adelaide and saw the likes of Barry Porter and others of that ilk or that age. And that got me really interested in Speedway, watching that stuff fly around the place. Had a bit of a run at the old Adelaide International Raceway with some drag racing. I had an old Holden at that stage. I converted it from a 173 six-cylinder to a 327 Chevy. So it got up reasonably well in the day, but that was my also drive to and from work type scenario. Got back to the Territory, tried a little bit of motocross for a while, and then went into Hidden Valley with Terra. That was around about when Terra was actually being formed up, about late 80s, about 86, 87, somewhere in there. So I rode around on initially with an old CBR 11 or CB 1100 Honda Volador, and then transferred from that onto a YZF 1000 Yamaha. So that was really good fun. But I worked out as I was getting a bit older that every time I fell off, my body was bouncing less and the bones were breaking more. So,
as we all do.
The joys of getting older, effectively. So that was when I decided it was time to put a cage around me. And my love went back to Speedway. So made the plunge, bought a sprint car, went south to around the Shepparton area and bought one up from down there. So I towed it back. And that car was actually a Beretta, of all things. So it was a low bar Beretta, and really old school as far as the type of technology in at the time, with a gear stick between your legs, and it had the old spindle type front end with the spinners like you see on the old MG sports cars. And it was a bit spoiled there because it did have the single nut on the rear end. And then one behind the steering wheel, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It had a couple of nuts in it.
The big nut behind the steering wheel.
Yeah, no, I thought I'd get in there before you guys hit me with that one. So I thought, yeah, I'll put my hand up there quite happily. So I raced sprint cars for about 4 or 5 years. Had a lot of fun with it. Wasn't hugely successful, but certainly had a fun and got an appreciation when I watch the guys these days with the way the technology in sprint cars has marched forward. And just some of the skill that they show you on every night they go out there. It's amazing what they can actually do with those cars. I could never get anywhere near it. I sort of got a bit more tied up with the admin side of things. That's when I started stewarding in the late 1990s. Still wanted to be a bit competitive, so then I hopped in HQ for a while, but current financial stresses means that I can't fix the motor at the moment. I'm just not getting any work. I've been unemployed for about 3 months. So there's more important things to be putting my money into with my family and stuff rather than going and playing with the racing scene. So that took a bit of focus. So the HQ is still sitting there. It just needs the engine to get fixed up, and we'll get back in there, and hopefully we'll get out and have another bit of a play. In the meantime, Motorsports NT's taken up a fair bit of time, even though we've been off. I've been pretty busy with that, with talking to a lot of government agencies and talking to all the clubs as much as I can to find out how they're going post-COVID and how they're restructuring and restarting their events effectively. And it's been good actually getting out. I've been trying to get around to as many of the clubs as I can, both Darwin and Catherine. I caught up with the Catherine Motocross Club committee when I was down there last time, so it was good to catch them up with Peter and that. Obviously caught up with Nullarbor, all the Darwin clubs I've been trying to get round to, and it's motocross, it's drags, it's circuit racing, speedway. I'll get down to see Cole Fry and his gang down in August at Tannock Creek, and then I plan to be getting down to the Red Centre Nats come September and catch up with as many of the southern clubs as I can down there as well while I'm down there for that. So it's keeping me busy. So I might be broke, but at least I'm not bored.
Oh, mate, motorsports NT, you're never going to be bored, eh? That's pretty much like every last second of the day you've got spare.
Yeah, I get home and open up my computer at home, and there's 12 or maybe 15 emails there that are work related. So I pull my way through them, spend my time with my family and watch a bit of TV with the missus and all that sort of stuff. And then I'll go back in and then open up the laptop for the Motorsports NT one, and there's 15 emails sitting there as well. So, midnight's a very, I'm on very friendly terms with at least midnight or beyond sometimes, that's for sure.
And I hope a scotch or a whiskey or something as well to go with it, maybe.
Occasional rum, yeah, a lot of bits of that.
Because Gary, Matty and I were talking about it the other day. How many motorsports club are you actually really responsible, or Motorsports NT? How many motorsports clubs across the territory are you guys actually responsible for?
We've got about 21.
Yeah.
So that takes in all your major centres. So you got like Alice, Tannock, Catherine, Darwin, and Gove. We've got 5 speedways. We've got 2 drags. We'd have about 6, probably more motocross clubs. There's the 2 dirt kart clubs, the 1 bitumen club. You got the mud racing, drag racing ×2, Alice and Darwin. There's a bit of a sprinkling, and it's interesting from my point of view because it's not just one club type scenario or one division or discipline in motorsport. And there's still got then you got the drifting club here in Darwin, you got the road racing club for bikes and cars. So there's a fair spread across the different type of machinery that obviously sometimes attracts different types of people to it, but they've all got a bit of petrol in their veins or a bit of methanol or whatever. And they all like turning a wheel and having a bit of skid somewhere. So there's a lot of commonality, but there's also a lot of differences, and I think that's actually what makes this sport attractive.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny because we were looking at them earlier, and a lot of the sports you mentioned to start with are like a start-finish line sort of thing. And now you get things coming up like the burnout clubs and the drifting and all that, where it's actually judged. So it's sort of a little bit different to your probably, I suppose, your original motorsport where start-finish line rules in place. All of a sudden you become a very judged sport. They're very different, and obviously different sort of demographic of people as well sometimes. So it's good to see though across all those sort of sports that we sort of go back to one point, which is yourself. And I mean, you got a lot of experience across so many different motorsports. What are some of the challenges you have at Motorsports NT, really, like just some of the common challenges?
We've got a fantastic relationship with the Northern Territory government up here. And I know in some respects we're probably the envy of quite a few other sporting codes or motorsporting codes throughout Australia when they look at the amount of infrastructure and event support that we get through the Department of Tourism, Sport and Culture, which is by the NT government. So we're very, very lucky in that respect, and that's a relationship we need to keep working and manage and hang on to and keep fostering. So that is one of our challenges, is trying to ensure that all the clubs maintain some reasonably good standard infrastructure with their facilities. There's a fair variation of that around the territory. One of my biggest focuses is to try and make sure that all clubs across the territory are getting a bit of an equal hit at it. So it's not just one club in one location that seems to be getting a lot of money, and then there's a few other clubs here and there that might be missing out. So that was one of the first things I did was I actually went back through a fair number of years prior to when I got there and just had a look to see how that money, that funding assistance has been going out. And I've tried to sort of level it out a little bit so that all the clubs are getting a bit of the piece of the pie, and obviously some will get a little more than others depending on what infrastructure they need or what type of event they're running. To me, the events that are worthwhile, really supporting hard, are the ones that have got the opportunity to put a lot of give back into the community. So if you look at Speedway, Chariots is a good example. You've got the Desert Nationals down in Alice Springs, Nitro up north here in Darwin. Obviously, the V8 Supercars is an easy one. The Think Desert Race is another easy one that you can associate with. Those events are sort of iconic now in that They're getting good patronage from down south. They're getting a lot of spectators actually coming up through the territory to see those events. It's attracting a lot of really good interstate competitors, and they're actually at a very high standard. So that puts a lot of our territory guys and girls to a bit of a test there to try and be able to compete on equal terms with them. And that to me is actually a good thing, because that will actually lift our standards as well. Some of the guys and girls up here, they'll be doing very well up here. They head south and suddenly they're sort of mid-pack. And it's a bit of a reality check sometimes. I know when I was riding what you call a super bike, which I had a Grand Prix type bike in the Yamaha and I was actually doing very well when I was racing at Chair, and I was having some of the fastest laps around the place and all that sort of stuff. I went down to Phillip Island and had a few laps around there, and I'm flogging through this corner going pretty hard, and this kid comes flying around the outside of me and left me standing for still, and he had a P plate on the bloody thing. And that very quickly put me back in my spot and said, yeah, I'm not really an A grader down here. I'm probably about a C, or maybe lucky if I'm a B. So, but that encouraged me and prompted me and said, okay, I've got to lift my game here a bit. So then I started working out how to go faster, and I actually did start to get faster. And I think we get the same result here, whether it's in the HQ Nationals where the guys come up from south. When you see the quality of the machinery they got and the way they race, it gives our guys something to aim for. And you see that whether it's the drag racing, sprint cars, or anything like that. I think that's across the board. We've certainly got some very good talent up here in the territory, because when they do go away, they always acquit themselves very well. And that's one of the things that's been pleasing, that although it's not a lot of money, we do actually have an opportunity to try and assist with some of that travel through Motorsports NT to actually give them a little bit of extra funding to sort of allay some of those bills, because it's always a long way to go somewhere. So, yeah, there's a lot of challenges. A lot of it's down to the financial side of it. And from my point of view, a lot of it is actually trying to lift the standard of not only the infrastructure here, but the actual standard of the event that clubs are putting on. So when you look at something like, say, the Nitro up north, or you look at the Fink Desert Race, I mean, the Fink in itself, it's a world-class event. It's known all over the world. Yeah, it's known all over the world. So that event is running at an extremely high standard. It's attracting record numbers of people that want to try and get on it. They've almost got to start capping it now because there's just almost too many, especially when you look at the bike field. Chariots are starting to get to that stage now where it's, I know the committee probably, they don't want to do it, but they're sort of having to consider at some stage that maybe at some stage in the future, whether it's 2 years or 10 years down the road, whether they need to actually look at capping numbers. I don't think it will come to that, but I mean, that's the sort of conversation sometimes some of these clubs have to have with the actual attraction that some of these type of events are actually getting. And I think that's a good thing.
That is a world-class event, though, Chariots, really. Like, you look at the guys that are coming back from America to race in that.
Yeah, and it's pretty incredible to think of with when you talk about, you know, us in the territory and whether it's Chariots or the Fink Desert Race. I mean, even Alice Springs, you know, you're still talking 1,500 k's away from South Australia, and you know, Northern Territory. You know, we're so far away from everything as well. Sorry, Darwin, I should say. And, you know, to still attract a number like, you know, 50 sprint cars or, you know, 500 bikes or entries for Fink Desert Race, it's pretty incredible to think that we can host that sort of event that attracts all that sort of interest from around Australia and get them to travel so far.
Yeah, and look, if you want to just concentrate on, I mean, I've been very blessed that I've been able to get around to a lot of different tracks all over the countryside with stewarding a lot of the sprint car events and stuff. And I've done a bit with speed cars and wingless with their Australian titles and stuff as well. And the beauty of that's been I've been able to actually visit almost every track in Australia and look at how different tracks are run, the standard of the facilities they got there. And you sort of cherry pick a little bit there, and you pick up some of the things that are good and some of the things that may not be so good. And you can incorporate back into what we're doing here in the territory. And I think the Chariots is a perfect example of that. The people that are actually running that now, they've got a vast amount of experience. They've seen what's happening at a lot of different tracks there. They've cherry-picked the good stuff, and they're putting it into that actual particular event. So, you know, most of the guys have been to things like Perth Motorplex. They've been to Warrnambool. They've been to Sydney and all those sorts of things. And even back in the day, if you went to Murray Bridge or Adelaide Speedway, and you can pick up bits and pieces everywhere and just add value, add effectively. And I think the overall experience of that is that the event just keeps getting better and better. And that's not just Speedway. You see that with some of the other type of events as well in other classes.
Yeah, you're right. Like, especially the drags. I mean, everyone probably doesn't realise how good our facilities are. Like you said, I've moved away. I do a lot of events around Australia, and some of our facilities, I mean, for the size of the population, they are up there. Like the dragster up there, wall to wall, we actually race is one of the best surfaces in Australia. You know, like there's other surfaces trying to get that good. And I mean, they were pretty lucky. They looked at Sydney, they looked at Perth before they rebuilt that and said, what would you do different? And did whatever they could within their budget to make it, you know, better and better.
Yeah, and there was a lot of very good investigation or rapport and going out and looking at what may be available from a funding assistance point of view. And not only did the non-territory government step up, but so did the federal government. So they actually got some funding streams from 2 different locations to actually get to the venue where it is. And as you say, Matty, when you look at where we're located, the population base we have here, we really are spoiled in some respects with some of the high standard facilities that we've actually got. But having said that, my view is, yeah, exactly. Yeah, but having said that, my view is that let's not stop now. Let's keep going. You know, my view would be that Cadra with the Alice Springs venue down there for their drags, their burnout area, which is adjacent to the where the Fink Desert Race starts. They're in line for some pretty reasonable upgrades very shortly. Alice Springs just got some good money to try and get some upgrades done. We've only just recently released our funding assistance through the government for this year. What we were able to do is actually split it. So all the event funding that was supposed to be scheduled for this year, we've been able to actually transfer that through to 2021. And my main argument for that was that because of the way we had a basic shutdown for the majority of our clubs just could not run this year. It gives them some assurance for next year that they've actually got that funding support to rely on as we come out of this pandemic sort of process and say, okay, finances is not something that we need to be overly worried about. We still need to worry about it, but we're not overly worried about it. We can really get on with the organisational process now and get the event up and running. So the government was excellent, and through the agency as well, was excellent in actually taking that particular suggestion on board and then going with it and flying with it. So, but infrastructure was split away from the event. So the infrastructure we have for this year, we've actually managed to just get that released now. So most of the clubs around the territory are getting email messages at the moment from our office stating what projects that they were looking to try and complete this year, and they're being advised that they've been approved and start the development plans and start getting the constructions done. So, I mean, that's good from the community point of view as well, because that money then pours back into the contractors. So all your subbies are out there, whether it be builders, sparkies, plumbers, or whatever it may be, which means that we've got some money starting to float around the town, and motorsport benefits as a result.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a credit to the NT when you look at supercars. I mean, they've got some big struggles at the moment, but they're coming back to Darwin. You know, like they're going to make the trip back up.
Yeah.
Even with everything that's happening on, they're going to come up. That's a big commitment from them, which shows, you know, how good the circuit is up there and how much they love coming up and how competitive the track is.
Yeah, and look, non-territory major events company, they've been working their butt off over the last probably 3 months to actually get that deal put together. To come up with some sort of a plan to get spectators into that, because they obviously need to try and help pay for the whole process, because the whole thing's worth a little bit of money to not only the territory but also obviously to supercars as well. So to get through a process where they've come up with a COVID plan that the CMO in the territory is actually happy to actually get up to that 5,000 spectator process is excellent. They've got a reasonable plan there to make sure there's some reasonable separation between the interstaters and the locals in the territory. And obviously, there's that's sort of flowed on a bit now with what's happened with Victoria. Now that you've got a lot of teams basing themselves out of the Sydney Motorsports Park. And there's a few actually looking at, there's actually talk at the moment of the Bend in South Australia becoming a bit of a hub as well. So it's partly almost like a self-quarantine process. So if they are travelling, they've actually done the time to make sure that they're all clear before they actually then have to try and look at crossing borders and stuff. So I know there's a lot of talk around about whether it's one meeting or it's 2 meetings back-to-back or whatever. I certainly wouldn't like to be in Tim's shoes as he's trying to contemplate the logistics of that whole process. But I wish him all the best with it. From what I've seen so far and the limited amount of information, when I've had a bit of a chat to the guy, he's under a bit of stress, but he's handling it well, and he's going to come up with a pretty reasonable event, I would suggest.
Yeah, what do you reckon his alcohol bill's like at the moment?
Actually, I don't really know if he actually drinks, but I'd say his hair's starting to go a bit like mine, probably a bit more silver than it used to be.
I'll tell you what, I don't envy guys in that situation. A couple of times, like me and Teagues do the commentary. I know Teagues involved in Chariots of Thunder, and I've helped out a lot of clubs with like audio gear and stuff like that. But yeah, I give it to you guys that sit up there and do all the officialing. That it's a pretty hard job, and it's fairly well scrutinised. And you guys, wear your big shoulders and you take it on. It's why we have so many great events in the Northern Territory.
Yeah, it was actually quite funny, Matty. I was I've been basically doing this job now for roughly about 12 months. And I sat back and thought about what I've tried to achieve in the 12 months. And look, I've got an excellent board and I've got an excellent staff in Mel and Kay as well in the office. And Rod, Kerry and Mary Rose have been great with the amount of support they give me through our board. And I thought about where we've been and what I've done in the last 12 months. And I thought, that's a pretty sad reflection, actually. The very first major thing that I do in motorsports in the first 12 months was I shut the bloody thing down. I thought that's really going to look good. That's going to look really great in the history books, I tell you.
Yeah, Gary, just continuing on with his loving ways and making sure that everyone likes him.
Is this because
you're all shut down?
This is because your HQ is not ready. Hey, you said my HQ is not ready. I'm not. We're shutting it
no
all down.
No one's going racing if I can't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm pretty proud with what the board's actually achieved. I'm very thankful for the amount of assistance that I've actually had from our case managers and directly with the Minister's office as well. Minister Lauren Moss has been excellent with there's a couple of chats that we've had over the time as far as supporting what we're trying to achieve with motorsport. And I must congratulate the whole motorsport community as well. I mean, we had to go through that shutdown process, and I know that caused a lot of grief for a lot of clubs as far as some of the major events they had planned. They'd already put a bit of money and a lot of planning time into it, and they just had to shut it down. But motorsports, I think, has been pretty exemplary in the way it's actually conducted itself through this whole process. And my getting around to the clubs and that, I've been watching how the clubs restart their sports, and I think they've done a pretty damn good job with that as well. And it's been good to see things like, if you look at the, say, the Top End Motocross Club, if you look at the Territory Quad Association, you look at the Top End Dirt Kart Association, they've had some record numbers coming out and extremely high numbers of kids, under 16. So, Leanne and Steve Driver from the Top End Dirt Karts, they're almost beside themselves. They had a pretty reasonable pit area there. It's chockers now, and they're trying to come up with some they're coming up with some forward planning now, what they're going to do, because they've got some pretty big events potentially coming up where they may, once the border sort of sorts itself out, they're going to have some potential interstate visitors coming in, and they're trying to work out where they're going to do and where they're going to put them. But I mean, that's a good reflection on just how well they are managing that process. And it's the same with, say, the motocross down at Top End Motocross there with Scylla and her committee and that. They've had like 85 on just their ride park days, so they're not even competitive days. It's just a chance there to get out there. There's been good assistance there through MAMT with Gary Lambert, ensuring that whole process could actually get them up and running. So it's good to see the national body through their state memberships supporting them 100% with that. And I must admit, I've had the opportunity to talk to most of the national bodies when we were going through this whole process there, and I think I've developed a pretty reasonable rapport with them now that I can pick up the phone, and whether it's talking to Tony at the National Karting Association or Eugenia Rocker at Motorsport Australia and all those sorts of people, if there's an issue with how we were getting, or some clubs were coming up with a potential issue that was they foresaw as being maybe forestalling their getting going, a very simple phone call from me to the boss of the other organisation, and it was fixed fairly quickly. So that's been extremely good too.
So let's get a bit off topic here. What's been your most favourite event that you've been to in Australia?
Oh, geez, put me on the notice.
Well, just name a couple of big ones. I mean, like you say, you've officialed a lot of big speedway meets, so there's probably got to be some highlights in there.
Yeah, I mean, I did the Classic for quite a number of years and absolutely thoroughly enjoyed that race event, not only for just the pure standard of the racing that is actually put on there, but the crew at Warrnambool are extremely good. They are very, very good. Make you feel welcome. I mean, I'm sort of an outsider coming in there, and it's like a steward coming in on a you're not in your home ground type scenario. But they always made me feel very welcome. They were easy to work with. They were very, very efficient. And I've seen the startings of that with Northline and Catherine and to some extent Alice Springs and that, because I've visited them and they're starting to get that sort of rapport between all their officials working as well. So the Classic has always been a good one. I used to thoroughly enjoy going to Speedway City. Wendy and Bob down there were extremely helpful with getting their stuff going. It's a shame that that's not to be today. And not a lot through what they've tried to achieve. They actually wanted to try and get that place to keep it going. But just circumstances, unfortunately, it just didn't happen. But, it's like the Australian Masters and the Tatnall Cup and those sort of things. And even places like when I've been to Avalon, I probably only ever stewarded, I think, once at Sydney. I've been up to Brisbane quite a few times, to Toowoomba once or twice, Dubbo. I'd really like enjoying going to the West, and I was actually recently there this year. Some would say controversially, but at least I was there. But yeah, Perth, Perth is a class act. And Brumby do a bloody good job as well. And Albany, which is tucked right down in the southwest there, that's a great little track too. And the committee down there, it's a little bit like a Darwin Speedway, and it's a club-run event. It's not like a promoter-style event like, say, the Motorplex or Brumby, where you've got the promoter actually running it. It's purely based on club activities like what Darwin and all our clubs in the territory are. And, Albany has got a good, big, wide track. And, they put on a good effort down there. So certainly the Classic. And I rate Chariots right up there with that. And I know that's probably, people would say, you're just showing a homegrown favourite. But having seen a lot of events around Australia, Chariots is right up there with it. And you get that feedback from the drivers and the crews as well. They thoroughly enjoy coming in. I don't know. I've only ever been to the Think once, and that was many, many years ago. But I did enjoy that. But that's probably like 20 years ago or something. I think I went there.
Have you done a Red Centre before?
Yeah, I went to the Red Centre Nats last year, and obviously going there again this year. That's a well-run event too. Cadra with Andrew from the president down there and all his crew. And also Andy Lopez from Summer Nats, who's got a fair bit to do with that. He's based in Queensland, but I've been talking to him lately about getting a bit of motorsport NT involvement with the Red Centre Nats this year. So we're going to try and put on a bit of a display, get all the competitors from the southern clubs to get into the venue and put on a bit of a razzmatazz type display with all their cars there. It's an opportunity for the clubs to try and talk to people about maybe looking for volunteers or further competition membership. So we're going to try and get something along those lines done at Red Centre Nats. But yeah, that's a great event too.
It really showcases the drag strip down there, because that was a great event. The big hitters, the heavy hitters they had last year, that was a huge event to see the drag cars down there.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, the Burnout guys put on a pretty good show as well, Matt.
Yeah, I know a couple of them. They're all right.
Yeah, I thought you might.
There's going to be some guys coming this year, I can tell you. They're going to tear that pad apart this year, I reckon, because they have been cooped up. And I know what Burnout guys are like. They get itchy. And we're going over to do the Burnout Masters over in Sydney next weekend, and it's going to be off its head. Yeah,
and I would suggest that they're going to have a fairly reasonable sized bank of tyres to go through. So there won't be any holding back, I'd say. they'll be into it.
No, order methanol now. That's what I'm saying. Order methanol now, because it's going to go out. I reckon it's those guys are just going to go nuts. They love it. I mean, you talk to the guys. I mean, there is a level in burnouts where the cars just can't go through and do the cruising, but that level down, they just do lap after lap after lap, and they love it. Alice Springs puts it on every year. I mean, I think they sell out of accommodation. Like, I know I went down late one year and we had to get the top-notch accommodation because that was the only one that was left. So it's good to see so many people in the town. Like, I've been down there for work myself, and it's sort of getting along. But that Red Centre Nats weekend, it just explodes. I'm assuming Fink's the same. I've not made it to Fink yet, but it'll be exactly the same as that.
Well, it was great for me last year too, because I was running around looking at all those top-notch cars on display inside the sheds and seeing what was outside and that. And I ran across about 3 or 4 people that I hadn't seen in like probably 30-odd years or more. I even ran across a mate of mine that I used to go to school with, and that's like 40-odd years ago. And he's living in Queensland now. He just come over to the event, and we end up in actually the same bloody spot on the same night. Just a coincidence of it all. And, there's a very good participation process there with interstaters. They love coming over there as far as bringing their cars there. The idea of the cruise through the streets with a car that would normally not in the wonderful world anywhere would ever get registered, or maybe the States, but yeah. and you can just cruise the streets with that specialised registration. The way they've set that up is it's brilliant, and it really does showcase the event by doing that sort of thing.
We went to the a hot rod meet over in Sydney Dragway when they had the Nitro hot rods come over from America, and the gases were all there. And I tell you what, those two guys that bought the gases, I reckon they will fill a truck this year of gases, and they were cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting to see too, because Nitro up north initially was going to be with the VO supercars this year. That's now been changed around, so they're still going to probably include that next year. That'll be obviously an item for discussion. But in the meantime, Eden Valley Drag Racing Association, through Matt Abel on that, their committee decided to take that on this year. So that's actually coming up through to September now, where they're going to hold their own Nitro event here and get the guys up from south for that event as well. And that's about 2 weeks after RCN, I think, from memory.
Yeah, I think it is mid-September from what I read on social media. But yeah, I mean, look, the Cow, when he does his Nitro Funny Car show is amazing. I've actually done a show in Perth when they did it over there. I was lucky enough that they were short a commentator and flew me over. But yeah, I watched it. You know, the moment they said they were coming last year, I said that is a good show for the crowd. It's a good show for everyone involved. And you know, his cars are reliable. They go down. They got the flames. They got everything. They've got all the colouring for the kids. Like, they really put a spectacle and make an event of it. Oh, Benny Bishop's on here. Benny Bishop has a question.
Oh, I like it.
Oh, the Bish. What do you got for us, Bish?
I like it. We're interactive. Kelly Dick has also let us know we got nice hats, which
Who did those? Who was that again?
Yeah.
Hang on. I'll bring it up. Look, there you go, Kelly. There you go. Look, mate. Dicker stickers, mate. Doing the hats. That's what we like to see. We'll give you one, Gary, mate. When you get back, Teagues will have one for you.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. No worries. Yeah, no, I'm sitting in my little catchment motel at the moment, down here for the work, and then I'll hang around for the Speedway on Saturday night. So I'm actually earning some coin, which is a really good thing, I can tell you, after 3 months with nothing.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle for a lot of people. And that's what I'm surprised about so many motorsport competitors coming back is I thought, you know, a lot of people are struggling financially, but these numbers we're seeing are phenomenal. And I don't know whether that's just people were ready for the season. You know, no one's ever ready for the first race meet, and all of a sudden they've got an extra 3 months. So maybe they've just got things going away. Look, there you go, T.
Well, I think what's been really good as well, Matt, is that like when you talk about, like, especially motocross, where I mean the investment's nowhere near as high, say, as what it would be with a sprint car or something. You're talking a 5-10 grand for a good bike or whatever. The amount of kids that have come out between sort of 12 and 16 years of age, I'm assuming they've just been bugging the hell out of their parents, saying that their parents have just said, let's get to the track and get rid of the energy.
Are you going to take one guess at what Benny Bishop wants to know?
Good on him. Go on.
He wants you to do your Chewbacca impression.
I've never had one.
Only when he's really cranky and had a bunch of rums under his belt.
only when you used to race Teague and now to yell at you all the time over the race receiver.
Yeah, that's all I heard through the one-way.
Thanks, Benny Bish. Next time you get a flat tyre or lose your keys, mate, I'll just leave you where you are, okay?
Oh, that's a good photo that we'll have to bring up on the show one day. Is Benny Bish on the side of the road trying to change his tyre? Yeah,
he was sort of successful, you might add. Now that whole Chewbacca Wookiee thing there, that was something that had started a long time ago with Wade Ornger, actually, I think, from memory, and that was back in our World Series days. Obviously, because of the hair, although I probably look like the Chewbacca of late because the latest film actually had him as an old man, which is what I am now. So we've both got the grey now. But, that just came out there, and I've never tried to make that noise. I don't think I actually even am capable of making that noise. But I know Wade went around to quite a number of the tracks and he's trying to get the crowd involved with it. And I was just sitting in the tower, and thank God no bastard can see me, I can tell you.
He's got a follow-up question for you. What's that, Teagues?
He's asked, does Gary have any tips for the Darwin Cup?
The only horsepower I follow, mate's got 4 wheels.
Unfortunately, nothing for you tonight, Benny Bish. Sorry, mate. We're not helping.
I've only got one more question for you, Gary. Teagues might have one more, but I only got one more. How many times did you have to yell at Teagan over the race receiver when he was racing, like when you were the steward?
Oh, I don't normally keep a record of that in my head in that.
I thought you'd remember the number because it'd be quite large, wouldn't it?
I actually honestly think Gary's probably yelled at me more since I've been a commentator than he has of racing days. He had to come in one time and go, "Do you have your radio on? We're asking for the anthem. Go the anthem." And then one time our music stopped as well, so I was running off a Spotify account and I had to quickly YouTube the the national anthem. I accidentally got the extended version. It went for about 5 minutes, and I got a please don't ever do that again, Tegan.
Well, this
I
is
actually
where
do
you need
remember that
Benny.
one.
Yeah, that was great.
I do remember that one. They were standing there forever. I'm thinking, second verse, third verse. Where's the finale?
We need Benny Bish
You got
back
that
because he
wrong,
can sing
mate.
it.
So I never yell on the receiver.
No,
Okay.
no, it's always very
Never yell on
calm
the
and
receiver.
collected.
Never swear on it. I mean, it's got a distinctive advantage. At least I can talk to them, but they can never talk back at me. And I know they get the shits with that, but that's a good thing from my point of view.
A lot of us actually do talk back to you. It's just it's
I can't
unfortunate
hear
you
it.
can't hear us.
No, that's not unfortunate. That's very fortunate.
I'll tell
Probably
you what,
for us.
Benny Bish is bringing it all tonight. Amber's going to love this one. How would you rate Amber Bell as a race car driver? He's really having a bit of fun tonight on Benny Bish.
Is this coming at me?
Yeah. Well, you probably know her as Emma Morrison.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
I try to really stay right out of that because
He's
there's always that
winding you up.
perception
That's
of-
all he's doing.
Yeah. And just to come back at him with a straight answer, I could give him a really good answer, but then he'll just fire up more.
How do you rate Benny Bishop as a commentator?
Yeah, I might leave that one alone too, eh? Can I just say he dribbles it with the best of them?
Yes.
Tease, you got anything more for Gaz?
No, mate. I think we've harassed him enough, and we've got him much more tech savvy after tonight. He's going to be zooming with the best of them after this.
Yeah, mate. He's been
well,
through how many laptops?
I worked out it was actually the poor old laptop I got, which is I've had it for a long time now, and I thought I'll go over to the newer one, and it all fired up straight away. So obviously the newer technology and the old one's just not synchronising all that well, and it's having an argument in there somewhere. But that's
mate,
all cool. It worked in the end.
We can't thank you enough for your time tonight. We can't thank you for all the time you put into Motorsports NT. You know, everything you bring to a race meet. I mean, when I've had to work alongside you, it's been absolutely fantastic, and I want to thank you for your time tonight.
No, and look, thanks guys for the opportunity, and also look, thanks to you guys for actually getting this platform up and running, because it's an opportunity for a lot of different people from all walks of motorsport to actually get on there, have a bit of a laugh, have a bit of a information sesh, and people like Benny Bish can get up there with his inane questions, and it's a good little format.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got plenty more comments to come later. I'm sure we'll get plenty of them on the messenger.
Oh, no doubt, and I look forward to catching up with Benny at some stage too. He's a good egg.
No, he is, and thanks for your time.
No worries, guys. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, what an interview with Gaz there from Motorsports NT. How good was that?
Yeah, that's great. It took a bit, but I'm glad we persisted and got him on. And we'll remind him next time we have a chat with him. Just use the new laptop straight up.
Use it straight up. Yeah.
The Windows 98 version is it's not the one that you want to be using straight up. But that has been great, and it's good to get the insight from someone who's so closely involved in so many different motorsports. As you said, 21, 22 motorsports clubs across the territory that Motorsports NT are assisting with and helping, and they sit in there and help as an administrative point of view for all the different clubs, and it's great to have people like that, and great to have someone like Gary alongside who really is all there for the clubs, and they're doing some great things for volunteers training as well, and it's great, and he's well loved among the motorsports community, and with Benny Bish, obviously. It's
funny how serious he is as a race director. Like, he is on the money. He's a great race director, but he actually he's a bit of a larrikin when you get him out there, and you have a bit of fun with him after a race meet. I mean, it's all serious when the racing's on, but when the racing's over, he's a good bloke, and it's just good to see how much he's been involved. Like, I didn't realise actually how much as a kid he'd been involved in other sorts, like, doing the obviously the bikes and all sorts of things like that. I knew him as Speedway, and I knew he'd done a bit of HQ racing, but I didn't realise all the stuff before that. So, he's been around a lot of different motorsports, and amazing to see he knows that was actually the main strip of the motocross track before it becomes a Speedway. There's a lot of history there in the Northern Territory with him as well. So, we can't thank him enough for coming on the show. And guys, look, we're going to probably wrap it up here now, Teagues. I don't think you've got anything more to go. I mean, upcoming events really is like Friday night, the T to have their drift event in the car parks. To get down to that one at Hidden Valley Race, that's Friday night. Tomorrow night, Catherine Speedway, Saturday night, if you feel like going for a drive, wherever you are in the NT, I mean, that's going to be a great one. Saturday, Sunday, Alice Karting Club have their 2-day event. That's going to be a huge one there for Alice Springs. Nullarbor, if you're over in Gove, Nullarbor region, get over there. They got a round 2 of their Speedway by the looks of it this weekend. Next weekend after, on the 18th of July, of course, Alice Springs have got their test and tune for the drags at Alice Springs Inland Dragway and burnouts as well. So hopefully the burnout guys get out there, have some more things to do. If you're over in Sydney, High Check Drift for Real is on this Saturday night. Of course, that is going to be closed doors to people. I think that's full already with entrance. Only a limited amount of people allowed to go in, so I think Picker and all that's all done. Burnout Masters next weekend as well in Sydney Dragway. So that's the 18th and 19th of July. That's going to be huge, 100 entrants. I know we're waiting on the Victorian. Luckily enough, I do have the call up for that one, and I know that I have seen the entrance list today. Pretty excited about who's going to come out there. And for the Burnout guys, we know Mick Brash has gone rotary power now, and it's entered. So I'm pretty keen to see what Mick's going to do with that. Only bit of bad news I got this week really is we can confirm Gaznat's got cancelled. So that's normally comes up mid-August. That's a bit of a shame because normally it coincides with Chariot. So I try to come over and hang out with you, but I can't. I'm doing Gaznat. So
But the beautiful thing about that is the motorsports in Darwin, Hidden Valley, we're so close to each other. Generally, if I stand out and commentate from the balcony, I can hear you and you can hear me. So it's there's a bit of love.
I feel the love. We send our love across the airwaves. I know.
Yeah.
Maybe same radio channel. We'll just cross-pollinate.
Exactly. Hey, maybe next week or in our next show, we can get your wife Jackie on and she can tell us both off in front of the live audience.
I'll just record it as she does it every day.
What did I tell you to?
I tell you what, everyone's lost the bet because Hayden did not make an appearance tonight.
No.
And he doesn't. And it's school holidays here, so he doesn't even have to go to bed.
I think viewership's down because of it.
Yeah. He told me he was giving me the rabbit ears tonight, which Big Gaz wanted, and he hasn't showed up to do it. I don't know. He's letting the team down. He's not a cabinet. If he's not taking the fun out of me, the Mickey out of me, he's letting the team down. But thanks everyone who's joined us. Thanks for all the comments. Good to see the boys back on. Thanks Benny Bish for joining in. Good to see you. I know you're a busy man with all your commitments. Hopefully I might actually see you someday soon if we get 400 Thunder back up and running. Yeah. If we get the Victorian borders shutting down there again, I don't know how that's going to go for that sort of drag racing in a national series. It's probably a lot of national series hurting at the moment, but next show I'm going to try and get Josh Graveling on from Alice Springs, who's done a bit of commentary with me at Red Santa Nats and Summer Nats. Loves the burnouts over there. Gets right into it. We're going to try and get him on the show. Looks like he's pretty keen. Talk about what went on. I'll bring you some stuff from Burnout Masters in Sydney. I'll take some photos. I'll try and remember to take some photos. I normally don't, but I'll get some photos and bring you a bit of a wrap up from that event. And you're not going to the Speedway in Catherine because your liver can't take it this weekend. That is confirmed.
No, yeah. That's it's too much excitement for me. I'll be definitely down at the drifting tomorrow night. I'm going to check that out, and I'm going to do some bowling on Saturday night. I'll just I don't think they have a bar at the bowling alley. I hope anyway.
Well, I think they do. That's a danger.
I'm already in trouble.
Already in trouble. Yeah, well, get some photos for us from Tita. Shout out to everyone who's back in their motorsport. We love you guys. We'll be back on air in 2 weeks' time, obviously Thursday, the 23rd of July. So keep that in the diary, and we'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Excuse me. Who are you guys? This is not your office.
Sir, I know we come off as a couple of lady killers, but I promise you we will be super professional on the job.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Credits.
The
End.